Most people believe early retirement requires millions of dollars or a massive real estate portfolio. But what if the entire strategy could begin with just one property? Not 10 rental units, not a massive real estate empire, just one house. In the next few minutes, this breakdown will reveal how one carefully chosen property can potentially create long-term wealth, financial freedom, and reliable income over time. This is Wealth Logic. Subscribe for more videos about building smarter wealth and financial independence. It sounds almost too simple, which is exactly why so many people overlook it. Society has conditioned people to believe escaping the 9-to-5 requires something extreme. Millions in the bank, a complicated investing strategy, or decades of working into the late 60s. But what if the path to financial independence was never dramatic at all? What if it was quiet, predictable, and hiding in plain sight? This strategy has helped thousands of ordinary people slowly build financial freedom using just one carefully chosen property. No house flipping chaos, no managing 20 frustrated tenants, and no gambling on the next hot market. Just one asset used the right way. And by the end of this video, the exact process behind how a single property can eventually generate enough income to make work optional will become clear. But before getting into it, if content about long-term wealth, financial independence, and smarter investing strategies is valuable, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps the video reach more people and supports more content like this. Now here's the idea most people completely overlook. When people think about real estate wealth, the image is usually of massive portfolios and investors owning dozens of rental properties across multiple cities. But in reality, many financially independent individuals started far more simply. The process often began with a single property and enough time for the numbers to compound. A solid home purchased in the late 20s or early 30s, not a luxury mansion, just a well-located property in an area with steady long-term growth. Then the shift begins. Over the next 15 to 20 years, that one property starts building wealth through multiple forces at the same time. The home's value gradually increases. The mortgage balance slowly declines. Rents in the area continue rising. And over time, the property evolves from a place to live into a long-term income-producing asset. By the time many people reach their 40s or 50s, that single property can generate enough income to cover a major portion of living expenses. No inheritance, no lottery ticket, just one smart decision made early and the patience to let time do the work. This is where real estate is often misunderstood. Most people evaluate properties using a single number, monthly cash flow. The question becomes, will this property make $300 a month? And if the answer is no, the opportunity gets ignored. But in the strategy being examined today, cash flow is only one part of the equation. The real advantage comes from multiple forces working together at the same time. Property appreciation, mortgage paydown, strategic improvements, and one of the most powerful tools in real estate, leverage. When all four are working simultaneously, a single property can build wealth far faster than most people expect. But for this strategy to work, the first step matters more than anything else. Buying the right property in the right location. Not based on hype or social media trends, but on something far more predictable. And that's exactly where most people make their first major mistake. The typical plan looks like this. Buy a house, live in it for 30 years, and celebrate the day the mortgage is finally paid off. No more payments. Financial freedom. But financially, something unusual has happened. The house may be fully owned, yet hundreds of thousands of dollars are now trapped inside an asset producing no income at all. It's almost like sealing cash inside the walls of a home and calling it financial security. The traditional mindset treats home equity like a trophy, something proudly displayed once the mortgage disappears. But the strategy being discussed today treats equity very differently. It treats equity like fuel, something intentionally built and then strategically used. And this is where the single property strategy truly begins to work. Step 1 is simple but critically important. Buy the right property from the start. Not the biggest house the bank says is affordable. Not the emotional purchase filled with luxury finishes. Instead, the goal is something far more strategic. A property in an area with strong rental demand. Middle-class neighborhoods are often the ideal target. Places where young professionals, couples, and small families want to live, but many are not yet ready to buy. That creates a steady pool of renters. The second factor to look for is value-add potential. Not a massive renovation project that consumes time and money for a year, but simple improvements that gradually increase the property's value. Better lighting, updated fixtures, improved curb appeal, and smarter use of space are small upgrades that make the home more desirable without turning life into a construction project. And maybe the most underrated skill in real estate is patience when buying. Overpaying by even 5 or 10% may not seem dramatic in the moment, but over decades, that difference compounds. Buying well creates a major advantage before the strategy even begins. Once the property is owned, the goal is not to ignore it. It's managed with intention. Rent is adjusted when the market allows, and improvements are made to increase long-term value. The property is treated like an asset, not just a place to sleep at night. Then time begins doing something powerful. Every year, two numbers move in opposite directions. The value of the home slowly rises while the loan balance steadily falls. The growing gap between those two numbers is equity. And this is where the path toward financial independence can begin accelerating. Instead of letting that equity sit unused for decades, a portion of it can be responsibly accessed through refinancing or a home equity line. But this is where discipline becomes critical. That money isn't for cars, vacations, or lifestyle upgrades. It's for income-producing assets, maybe dividend-paying stocks, maybe bonds, maybe another property, maybe even a small business. The exact asset matters less than the principle behind it. The property becomes the engine that funds additional income streams. And over time, those income streams begin growing, slowly at first, then faster, until eventually something very interesting happens. Passive income starts catching up to living expenses, and one day it surpasses them. That moment is what financial independence actually means. Not a massive number sitting in a retirement account, but enough recurring income to live life without depending on a paycheck. For some people, that moment arrives in 12 years. For others, maybe closer to 20. But either way, it's dramatically faster than spending 4 decades hoping a retirement account performs well enough. And maybe the most overlooked part of this entire approach is something rarely discussed. Wealth is being built without putting life on hold. Living in a solid home, improving it, building equity, and creating future income all happen at the same time. That psychological shift changes the way money is viewed entirely. Because once a home is no longer seen as just a place to live, it becomes something far more powerful. Once it becomes clear that a property is quietly building wealth in the background, a shift in thinking begins. Career decisions become more strategic. Negotiations at work become more confident. Opportunities that once felt too risky suddenly become possible because every bill is no longer tied entirely to a paycheck. The financial future is no longer sitting inside a salary alone. It's slowly growing inside an asset. And unlike the buy 20 rental strategy constantly promoted across social media, this approach stays simple. Managing one optimized property is manageable. Managing 12 becomes a second full-time job. Now consider a simple example. Imagine a 30-year-old buying a house for $420,000 with a 20% down payment, leaving a mortgage of roughly $336,000. Nothing extreme, just a solid property in a good location. Fast forward 10 years. If the home appreciates at a modest 4% annually, the property is now worth around $620,000. At the same time, the mortgage balance has dropped to about $270,000. That difference between the value of the home and the remaining mortgage is equity. And by this stage, it has become substantial. Most people would look at that situation and assume the responsible move is to pay the house off as quickly as possible. It feels safe. It feels disciplined. It feels like the kind of financial decision older generations would proudly support. But the principle behind this strategy is different. Equity is not just something to admire. It's something to put to work. Instead of locking it away for another 20 years, a portion of that equity could be responsibly accessed, let's say around $200,000. Now imagine that capital being invested into income-producing assets earning a conservative 7% annually. That creates roughly $14,000 per year in passive income from money that previously wasn't producing anything. 5 years later, if the property continues appreciating and the mortgage continues shrinking, the process can be repeated carefully again. And this is where compounding begins to accelerate. That single decision made years earlier, buying the right property, can slowly evolve into an income stream capable of covering a meaningful portion of living expenses. One of the biggest strengths of this framework is its flexibility. A single person might rent out extra rooms. A family might focus on a property in a strong school district with long-term value. Closer to retirement, the focus may shift toward a place worth living in for decades. But the core strategy remains unchanged, one carefully selected asset used strategically over time. Real estate, of course, is not risk-free. Markets slow down, interest rates rise, and neighborhoods evolve. But owning one well-chosen property creates flexibility. Adjustments can be made, leverage can be reduced, and strategies can shift when necessary. Someone stretched across 10 properties rarely has that option. There is also something psychologically powerful about owning a tangible asset. Stocks matter, but even if the stock market vanished tomorrow, people would still need a place to live. A brokerage statement cannot provide shelter. Over 15 or 20 years, the results of this strategy can become dramatic compared to relying only on traditional retirement savings. Not because it is flashy, but because it combines 3 powerful forces at once: leverage, appreciation, and time. But the part most people miss is this: the strategy is not really about real estate. It is about mindset. Wealthy individuals do not allow assets to sit idle. They put them to work. Equity sitting inside a house is only potential. Equity used strategically becomes freedom. Early retirement is not about collecting millions in a bank account. It is about building reliable income streams that eventually support an entire lifestyle. Options instead of obligations. Freedom instead of dependence. Housing is expensive right now. Interest rates are higher than they were a few years ago. Getting started can feel more difficult. But the underlying math has not changed. If anything, owning a valuable asset in a growing area can create even stronger long-term leverage. Patience may be required. Flexibility may be necessary. Strategy and location may need to be approached differently. But the principle still holds true. Financial freedom does not always begin with a massive portfolio. Sometimes it begins with one smart decision and one carefully chosen property. Could one property realistically fund retirement? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if this breakdown was helpful, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel Wealth Logic for more content about long-term wealth building and financial independence.